Well, they tried occupying America, and today they're hitting Bank of America. Protesters at the annual meeting in Charlotte slamming the bank over everything from foreclosures to corporate greed. They're clearly mad, but my next guest says their message isn't clear. And if they get their way, they'll only hurt themselves and the rest of the economy. Former Office Depot CEO Steve Odland joins me right now. Steve, always good to have you, my friend. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Neil. Great to be here.
You know, I almost felt like saying, watching them, protest outside there. Are you aware that Bank of America is laying off tens of thousands of workers? That you're almost getting what you want. They're all but shutting down. I'm not saying it's that bad, but they're not this great making money hand over fist behemoth that they were when these, protests started. But I guess it didn't matter,
Well, this is a disturbing trend with all these protests, not only for the banks, but for all the corporations and businesses in America. These people are essentially saying, we don't want any government cutbacks. We don't want any austerity in the world. We want the debt to continue to rise, the spending to continue to rise. We want the banks to forgive all the debt, all the student loans. And this isn't what our country was founded on. And what is happening is they're just spooking businesses as they do this. Right now, businesses are sitting on, what, $2 trillion worth of cash. They're not investing it. Jobs are not being created. They're worried about taxes going up. They're worried about the slowest recovery that you've ever seen coming out of a recession. GDP growth is only about 2% compared to 3.6% on average since in the post-war period. So the economy is not recovering. They are not creating jobs. The labor participation rate is the lowest level in over 30 years. And I think it's because businesses generally are spooked about what's going on with more regulation and these demands for anarchy, in an economic sense.
Maybe they're just look, they would take that money back that's held abroad, a lot of them, if they weren't penalized for it. I mean, so whatever their view on regulations and whatever their views on this president, I mean, they're nothing if not pragmatic. So they would take it. If the president granted them a tax holiday, even though they might hate the guy, they would take the money and run, wouldn't they?
Well, look, a lot of businesses, it's not about politics and support of the administration. It's about the policies and the economics. And, the situation is $2 trillion sitting on balance sheets, but they have a lot of stranded cash, as you're saying, overseas because of the policies. Net, all of these things, all of these protests are actually, I think, hurting the job situation because it's creating uncertainty in the business world. And business people want certainty.
No,
they want to know what the tax rules are going to be.
And I know your views on these protesters, but I'm thinking if they feel that France proves the wind is at their back, that the toppling of Sarkozy, who really, his austerity measures were minor compared to what else was going on in Europe, and certainly anything that would hint of hardship here. Yet the government was toppled. And the occupiers are saying that's because of us. So I'm wondering, you as an established, business titan in your own right, whether you agree with this and these protesters or not, whether they have got politicians' attention and are moving and influencing the ballot box. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think, the conclusion from these protesters is that Europe has proven that we should not cut back on our spending here. We should spend more. We should drive more debt. It's absolutely the wrong conclusion. We don't want to be Europe. They have social democracies there. They have debt that they cannot repay. Somebody's got to be an adult in the world, and I think the United States has always been that adult. We've been frugal. We've not spent beyond our means, and here we are, and they're pushing us to do that. We're in an unprecedented time. We simply cannot sustain trillion-dollar deficits, forever and ever. We've got to roll back the pace of spending.
I think they can, but math was never one of their strong subjects. Steve, very good seeing you. I'm sorry we're pressed for time, but you were great. Thank you, sir.
Great to see you, Neil.